Hello and welcome to tonight's show.
Welcome to episode 172nd of the On the Bench podcast. Podcast by scale modelers for scale modelers, all about scale models. And this show is being brought to you by Matthew Disney Cook, who has become our latest sensational Patreon supporter. If you too want to be just like Matthew, simply go along to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount as little as $1 per month. Your contributions help with our production and hosting costs and are greatly appreciated by both myself and the team. And of course, a big thank you to all of our ongoing Patreon supporters who, without your help, the show wouldn't be what it is. And speaking of shows, this one's going to be another cracker. Of course, because it is our 172nd, we're going to be talking 172nd scale. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Scott, the creator and owner of the Scale Modeler Supply, Australia's largest manufacturer of hobby paints. Our premium airbrush-ready acrylic lacquer paints are designed specifically for use on plastics, with a comprehensive range covering all popular modelling subjects including military, aircraft, rail, auto, sci-fi and more. And not only that, but we also have a wide selection of essential hobby tools and now, infinite colour, our new range of water-based paints for miniatures. So to check out our range and to find your closest retailer, please visit our website at scalemodeler.com.au. So when quality matters, choose SMS Paints.
Hello and welcome to the show. And in the studio with me, I have got Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Julian, g'day listeners.
And of course, Julian's here with us as well.
Yep, I'm here. It's me.
Gents, how are we?
Fantastic.
What's been happening? What's been rocking you? Boats.
Oh, well, got myself a new job, which is good.
Woohoo!
I've been on a holiday for the last 2.5 months, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Self-imposed holiday. So yeah, just recently got myself a new job, so I spent some money.
What'd you spend money on?
I bought a couple of books.
It wasn't model related then?
Oh yeah, and I bought some kits too.
Okay.
So I picked up Clayton's new book, Lunar Combat. Absolutely fantastic.
That's not Clayton,
that's
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Lincoln, sorry. What am I thinking? Early morning. Sorry.
Clayton's not talented enough to make books.
Oh, yes. Picked that up. Got the new Pacific Profiles book, which is on US Army Air Forces P-40s in the Pacific War.
Yep.
And what else did I pick up? Oh, I picked up a book on John Monash and the Battle of Hamel.
Sir John Monash.
Sir John Monash, yes.
That's better. Finest general the world's ever seen.
93 minutes that changed the First World War.
Yes.
Kit-wise, I picked up a couple of Edward kits.
Mm-hmm.
Got the new roof, Profi Pack roof.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Not the dual pack, the single.
Right.
And I got a Wildcat F4F/4 early.
Nice.
Tried to get the Wilder Cat, but geez, those things sold out in about 5 minutes.
Did they really?
Yeah, I've missed out on that one, unfortunately. And then picked up another close to 280 figures in 1 to 350 scale.
What for? You got a project on or something?
Well, that all goes in the box from Yorktown. I've got 780 figures so far for the Yorktown.
Gosh. Sounds like a mammoth project coming on down the track sometime.
A huge project, absolutely huge project. And then last night I was on YouTube and got across some guy, Martini, I think his name was, and he did a build on the Yorktown.
Yeah.
Basically exactly the way I'm going to do mine.
Oh, really?
And it was and he'd done such a nice job on it. It just looked amazing. I was like, I'll have to be watching this one a few times.
Great minds think alike.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, that looks really, really cool. And I think that's it for me, yeah.
Julian.
So, my alpha build is out.
Oh. As in, you put it into the well of tears, or?
No, I wanted to, but I put it back in the box.
Okay.
Because it's almost done. But what happened was I was working on the rear windscreen and it cracked.
What are you going to do?
I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe in the future I'll just strip it down and like turn it into a sci-fi thing, but it's a shame.
Yeah.
But there's no way around it. It's not like a regular car kit where you could have just replaced the clear with like a sheet clear plastic or something.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that.
Oh, it's got too many curves.
No, because they made the frame for the window molded as part of the window.
Oh, I see.
So you couldn't even do a vacuum form?
No. Like I said, the frame, right? You know that little raised chrome bit that runs all the way around the window.
Yep.
That's part of the glass.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a very good design.
See, that's why I don't build cars, man.
In any case, so I'm now building. I bought two kits. So I bought a Nissan Skyline GTR R32, and that's the Tamiya kit. And I also bought another Tamiya kit, which is the Porsche 930, also called the 911 Turbo, I believe.
That's the one you painted already?
Yes, I brought that in because I've already painted it Guardsman Blue, which is the
Shelby colour.
Yeah, the Shelby Blue colour.
And it is the weirdest colour to see on a Porsche, I have to say. It just looks weird.
That's a bit weird coming from you since you're not a Porsche purist to begin with.
Well, no, but I know enough about Porsches to know what I like, and it's just because it's not your standard Porsche colour, it just looks odd.
Well, I was trying to just go for to match a metallic blue that I'd seen a Porsche 930 on the internet, okay. So, and it just, based on someone else on the internet, they'd done a test of a bunch of different metallic blue colours, and that one looked like a good one that was close to it. And then when I actually painted it, I was like, no, that's not near it at all.
Yeah, I've only got, I think, one or two Porsche kits in my stash. Both of them have got 88mm guns on them.
Oh, okay. I pulled some decals from a different Porsche kit and put that on it. So
it's going to be like a custom thing.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah. Because I think if you're a Porsche purist, you would say, well, those lines that run down the bottom of the doors that has Porsche written through it, that's on earlier Porsches, not on Porsche 930s.
And if my memory serves me correctly, the bottom sill on a lot of those German Porsches had the rubber, it's like a anti-stone chipping.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a little bit rough surface.
Okay. Well, I don't know. In any case, I'm just going to paint it and do a thing, and I'll make sure all the black sort of plastics and rubbers and things that are involved in the bumper are all there. But other than that, I'll just get it done because I've got 2 weeks.
Oh, just for the interclub?
Yes, because I need 2 cars done.
Is that 2 weeks away?
Roughly speaking, it's the start of October, isn't it?
Oh,
Dave's in trouble.
No. I've got to get the tank. I've got to get the Leopard finished. Oh, okay. All right.
No guesses what Dave's doing this weekend.
Yes. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so.
Oh, golly gosh.
What?
Well, I've just about finished it.
Yeah, exactly. You've just about finished it. You're not starting from scratch like I am.
I'm weathering it, so...
Oh, easy.
Yes and no. And of course, the part went ping off it, and I can't find it anywhere. It's on the front headlight, so that's gone to God.
I actually thought I lost a bit when I was doing my Spitfire.
Oh.
A little control quadrant.
Yeah.
And I've gone, where's that gone? Because I had all my spare parts in like a tackle box.
Yeah.
Not my spare, but all the parts in the tackle box, and I accidentally knocked it over. And they went all over the floor. And I thought that was in there. I'm going, no, I've lost it. What am I going to do? And it's really complicated. Well, I'm going to have to scratch build it. And then, just before I was going to button it up, because I was thinking, I'll just miss it. You're not going to see it's right up the front. To see Edward go overboard with the details.
Yeah.
It was still attached to the sprue. I hadn't cut it off yet. I forgot about it. So I found it, painted it up, glued it in place.
Well, then technically it wasn't lost if it was still
on the sprue. No, it was on the sprue. I thought I'd taken it off the sprue and lost it, but it was still there. Because that's at the point now where we just got to glue a few canopy sections on and mask it.
Right.
And then I can start painting it.
Can I just say, because this Guardsman Blue is a metallic,
Yeah.
and it's all glittery,
Yeah.
it was really, really hard to spray my clear coat on.
I have no doubt.
I can't see what I'm doing. It's just some sparkles.
Yeah.
You can't see where you're spraying. Like normally you can hold a model up to your light and sort of, be able to see the sheen change across it, right, as you spray it.
Yep.
You can't see it. It's just, you just see nothing but sparkles the whole time. And so I laid down too much clear, and it ended up like sort of lumping up in some places that I had to knock down, and then had to respray the metallic blue again, and then more clear, and the second clear wasn't as heavy as it should be. So I overdid the clear on the first one. The second time I did it not enough, so it's not as glossy.
Yep.
What a pain in the ass.
I
I hate glittery paints, I swear. I don't think I'll do them again. I don't think I'll ever do them again. No, I'm over it.
And you bought a new tool.
Yes. Oh, that's it.
Yes, I did buy a new tool. I bought the Display parallel scriber.
Yeah, it looks cool.
So it looks a bit like a pair of calipers, but like one of the calipers has a
Scribing tool.
It's got a sharp pointy thing on it that will scribe lines for you.
It's only about $30, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was $30, which is a lot, but it's actually cheaper than some of the more crude options out there.
So you're going to get one of those penile line thingos?
Oh, you saw that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I
explain to the listeners what you mean by penile line.
Yeah. So what it is like Display or whatever they're called. They released this new tool called a panel liner tool.
Yeah.
It's basically just a fountain pen.
It is a fountain pen.
Yeah, it's a fountain pen. You're supposed to use to do your panel lines, like how like you
put
got
the
like
inks in it.
Yeah, you know how like you buy those Tamiya pots of black panel liner, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes with a little brush that comes with it, a little sharp pointy brush. Instead of that, you would use this stupid fountain pen that has no reservoir or anything on it.
I definitely wouldn't get one.
But the funny part is they spelt panel wrong, didn't they?
Yeah, they were spelled panel wrong. They wrote it with an E instead of an A. People had a bit of a laugh when I threw that up on the internet.
That's like border models with their 35th scale Focke-Wulf 190. Look at the painting guide that says Messerschmitt FW 190 in big letters. It's like, really?
Chinglish can be quite amusing at times.
It can be, yes.
Yeah, so that's a thing.
It is.
I'm always surprised that Display just keep bringing out all these tools.
Oh, look, some of them are really good.
And like you look at them and you're like, how come I never heard of this one before? Like I'm pretty sure like, this certain store that I would go to is like got all of them. It's like, no, and then you find like a different place on the internet and they've got like even more.
Yeah, it's really weird. They sort of, it pops up in all different places.
It's very, very weird. Yeah.
Anyway, they're good tools, so I like them. I've got a few of them.
Me too. Even though I don't use their super glue station anymore.
No, I've never wanted to do that. Yeah.
It's not for me. I don't really understand. Like the only pot that I've ever knocked over.
No, I don't mean the pot holder. I mean they got like this little thing called a super glue, and it's got those two little
domes
that you got to put super glue.
No, I use that all the time.
Yeah,
I use that all the time.
I just stopped using it because it just became just awkward and messy.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Whenever it gets caked up, I just.
You hit it with a cigarette lighter.
No, I don't do that. I just cut it off with a blade.
Yeah.
Cigarette lighter, just burn it off. Yeah. Start again.
No, I'd rather not deal with any heat around flammable things.
Well, what did I get up to this week? I caught up with the guys from Built Sideways. Brian and the guys. I know you've been chatting with Brian.
Yeah, I know. I chat with Brian all the time.
Yeah.
So he bought the Porsche kit. That's why I bought it.
I know. So I got invited to go on their show because we were talking about Gundam and how it's misrepresented or underrepresented at model shows. So we're banging on about that and dying on that hill yet again. Well, it does. It really annoys the heck out of me. And this is a family show, so I can't swear.
Right.
That, like we had Marissa on, 2 episodes ago, and she's managed to convince Scale Model ACT to have the 3 proper categories for Gundam.
And she's doing a seminar.
We're going to talk about that later, the news from that. That's awesome news coming out of Scale Model ACT. But you get your Gundam lumped in with your mecha, you get, or even worse, it all lumped in with sci-fi. It's just, come on, man. It's a bigger part of it's the largest part of the modelling community is Gundam, by money.
Well, it is now, yeah.
By volume. So and we're going to be a lot more inclusive. And when I say we, I mean the traditional modelers,
us old farts,
and traditional modelling shows, and that's how we make sure that the hobby sort of continues to grow and thrive by being inclusive and making sure that these people are. When I say these people, making sure that all modelers are catered for. I mean, this thing where you go to a show, there's like 2,670 categories for aircraft, and there's just like one category for science fiction, fantasy, mecha, Gundam all rolled into one. I mean, come on, that's old hat. And it doesn't cost them any extra to have another category, because usually the categories are sponsored by somebody anyway, so it's not like they're costing them money.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, that's the big drum that I'm beating at the moment, and I'll continue to beat that until...
It doesn't make sense.
Until we have equity.
It doesn't make sense that they can't make... There's no reason why you can't have more categories when they just drop categories all the time anyway, right? Willy-nilly, almost.
Yes.
Like, you go there and there's like 50 categories or something, right?
Yeah.
Which makes presentations freaking boring.
I'm putting 50 out of my ass because it could be 100 for all I know.
Yeah. No,
I'm not going there counting everything. I've certainly never been involved in the organisation of it.
No, I think all the shows need to be a lot more inclusive in catering for, and even, and as I was saying, the guys over in Sideways, even, things like Warhammer, that's hardly ever dealt with in a sort of proper equitable way. And what about the guys who do all the building for, war games? Some of that stuff's really great. Why not have a segment or, where you can have a X number of point army on the table as a, competition. I don't know. Or even just not even competition, just have it there as a display.
Well, you got to break that down in 3 parts anyway. You got Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
You got Warhammer 40K, and then you can have the historical wargaming.
Yeah. I don't know. It just I think we're going to get better at what we're doing, and I'm pleased to say there are some shows that are moving that way, which is fantastic. But I think there's a few other shows that need to also move forward that way as well.
Yeah.
And that's not to say they're doing a bad job. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that
actually, our shows here in this country are pretty progressive and like on top of things compared to a lot of other shows that go on. It depends on what metric you're measuring them by, but it's not too bad.
Just need to be more inclusive, man. All right, let's have a very quick break. We'll come back and have a look at some listener mail, because there's quite a few things in there for us to have a chat about. Also, we've got the Falcons written in with all of his really cool stuff. And we've got a fantastic interview coming up where we're going to be talking to Kentucky Dave and Tim, El Presidente, on 1/72nd scale models, seeing it's our 1/72nd episode.
Oh, there you go. That fits.
All right, guys, we'll be back very shortly.
Hey everyone, it's Chris at Inside the Armour Publications. I'd like to tell you about the new ebook we have available right now, Perfect Pits, the 2nd edition. This is the same book as Perfect Pits that we previously released in print. However, it's now available as an ebook from InsideTheArmour.com and includes new material for a 2nd edition. You can download this book along with any of our other ebooks on the ebook section of our site. In addition, I still have copies of Models from Ukraine Volume 2 if you'd like to help raise some money for a good cause and get a great modelling book full of fantastic artists like Calvin Tan, Paolo Portuesi and many others. please do go to the Supporting Ukraine page of the Inside the Armour site. All these books and more are available right now, including Tetra Model PE, Wingsy kits, and a bunch of other great stuff at InsideTheArmour.com.
Okay, and we're back. And before we dive into listener mail, let's have a look at modelling shows that are coming up. First of all is Expo South Australia, the SA Scale Model Expo 2023, which is going to be on Saturday the 7th to Sunday the 8th of October, and at the John Dunning Sports Centre in Kent Town, South Australia. I will be there, so come past and say g'day, and we'll be happy to have a chat with you all. I'm looking forward to catching up with everybody there, so that should be very exciting. The next big one, of course, is Scale ACT 2023 on the 11th and 12th of November, and there's a really exciting announcement about ACT SMS Scale 2023, with a release of all of the presentation workshop series that are going to be occurring on both Saturday the 11th of November and also Sunday the 12th of November. First of all, on Saturday between 11 and 12, we are having the mighty Sam Dwyer, modeller extraordinaire, who's going to be doing a workshop on detailing armoured vehicles. 12 to 1, we're having the exceptional Chris Lehman, who will be doing a workshop on working with photo etch and resin aftermarket. 1 to 2 o'clock, Lincoln Wright, your favourite machine Krieger builder. He's going to do the project Grosser Hund, building, painting and displaying machine Krieger. Between 2 and 3, magnificent Gary Wickham, weathering and finishing on aircraft. And, of course, David Hay is going to be on between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, exceptional figure builder, and he's going to be doing figure painting and sculpting. On Sunday the 12th of November between 11 and 2, the lineup is as follows.
11 to 12.
Starting at 11 a.m, we have the exceptional Clayton Ockerby, who's going to be doing a talk on weathering and finishes on armoured vehicles. Between 12 and 1, David Lester, weathering and rigging ships.
Yeah, it's going to be
a cracker of a one. Between 1 and 2, Paul D'Orval, civil vehicle modelling. Oh, Julian, it's one for you to pop along to.
Only if it's cars. I don't care for the bikes and the planes and the civilian ships, do I?
And last but not least, between 2 and 3 p.m, Marissa is going to be doing a workshop on Gundam creations and tools. So looking forward to seeing what she has to say.
Geez, with all that on board, you won't have much time to look at the tables.
Well, that's right. So Scale ACT will be announcing more detail on each of the presenters and their presentations as they get closer to the event. So looks like a sensational weekend is coming up for that one, so we can't wait. In news to hand for next year, this is a early notification, is the QMHE24, which is going to be in August 17th, 18th, 2024. And I'm really proud and excited to say that we are going to be part of that by not only actively promoting the show, but plans are in place for us to attend up in Queensland. So August 17th to 18th, 2024. More on that next year as we get closer to the event, but we're really excited to be part of that as well. So can't wait. But there is more modelling show news. Let me have a quick dive down here. First of all, our good friend Tim Cavalier from Moscow, Idaho, says, as time permits on your next expo, please let your listeners know of the IPMS Palooza Area Modelers Show on Saturday, September 30th, 2023 in Moscow, Idaho. All genres are welcome. And he included a flyer with that. And that is going to be located at the 1912 Centre, 412 East 3rd Street, Moscow, Idaho. Just go and Google IPMS Palooza Area Modelers to see more details on that very exciting show. And, of course, Tim used to write the blog on all the podcasts, which used to be extremely entertaining.
Yes.
And for some reason, he's slowed down on that. But anyway, not to worry. Patrick Gunstrom writes in, "Hi guys, email from a listener all the way up in Sweden. Really love listening to your show while driving to work and sitting at my bench, and especially thanks for the interest in Gundam and figure modelling, as other podcasts tend to forget these. Also, all the Aussie banter makes me want to crack open the Fosters and watch some old Paul Hogan shows."
Oh, jeez. Let's bring back some memories.
It does. Since I suspect there are some more listeners up in Northern Europe region, I'd like to ask, and in fact there is, we have a very large listening of all the Nordic countries up there. So I'd like to ask if you could promote our local modelling show that's coming up here in the end of October. It usually has visitors from Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Poland, the Netherlands, etc., from all over the region. This show is called the C4 Open and is Scandinavia's friendliest modelling event. And it's held on the 28th and 29th of October in Malmö, Sweden. There are over 300 models in the competition, several vendors and other modelling clubs. This year they will also be having 2 seminars. One is a special interest group on Swedish armour, and one is on the Yom Kippur War. And a theme class, which this year is called Frost, Ice and Snow. More information and for registration, go to c4-open.se. Thanks in advance for the great podcast. Keep it up. All the best, Patrick.
And hopefully, I gather the show will go quite well.
That theme sounds very very Nordic, doesn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Very Scandinavian, or whatever it is. I'm not very well up on that part of the world, really. But I just imagine it just being clouded in snow, like 9 months of the year.
It does.
Very long days and very short days.
Indeed. Okay, so let's dive deeper into listener mail, and the first one comes from Tim Craft, sorry. Beg your pardon. Sorry, Tim.
It's written right there.
It was
Last
written
name.
right there, I know. Hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. First off, wanted to email in again and say thanks for doing the podcast. I wish I'd found them when you had started.
No. Your first ones are really bad.
I'm still working through the old episodes. They are good for my commute to work. I'm currently at episode 139, and yes, I started all the way back in episode 1.
Wow. I
catch a new one from time to time. When you go back and listening to the beginning, it shows how well you guys have grown as podcasters. Oh, shucks, thank you. I always appreciate the insight that all of you bring to our hobby. The differing viewpoints on topics is refreshing. It's good to be able to discuss things in a constructive way. I wanted to show a few items from growing up. When I was a kid, there was a manufacturing company in the area called Continental Motors. From listening to the podcast, I think you guys may be familiar with them. I've included a few locations in this message. I never really knew what they manufactured there. I knew it had something to do with tanks, and I didn't find out later that they also did airplane engines as well. Mm-hmm. And it's just really interesting how much history there is when you're sort of walking around and walking past it in your day-to-day thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now comes my question for you guys. How do you take care of paint runs? I'm working on an oil tanker truck and got a little too much rattle can in one area. Is there a good way to sand down just the affected area, or do you need to go aggressive and take some of the surrounding area as well? Also, have you guys thought about doing a Discord server to further the OTB community? Thanks again, Tim.
Well, for sand, basically, I'd just warm soapy water and wet and dry sandpaper.
Wet and dry sandpaper is the most amazing thing to use.
And use like a small type rubbery block. Mm. So that keeps you... Because the last thing you want to do, especially when you're dealing with paint finishes, is get like finger channels.
Yep.
Because a lot of people have a tendency of sanding with their fingertips, which is the wrong way. I remember when I was a youngster and I was doing work experience in a panel shop, and the boss would always have this big wooden stick with him, and if you used your fingers, you'd get a rap on the knuckle. You had to use the palm of your hand because it was flatter.
Right, okay.
So, but yeah, look, you're going to probably go through a little bit on the edges.
Yep.
Because you've got to work that main run out.
Yep.
But once you've done that, you just blow some extra colour over the top and you should be right as rain.
And Tim, if I could suggest that you're getting a paint run to begin with a rattle can, then just remember that less is more when you're doing a rattle can.
Yeah.
Because they're too easy to bog on a lot.
And I've never been a huge fan of rattle cans anyway, because I find you just don't have the same control as you do with an airbrush.
Yeah. But that said, I use them a lot.
So do I, actually.
When you're using them, just make sure you're moving your hand faster, because you can't control how much is coming out. So what you can control is to limit how much is going down is to make your passes fast.
And always start the spray before you hit the model.
Yes, yeah.
So you start your paint, and then you push it and you drag it across till you hit the model and just continue.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I use a sort of flicking motion to keep my movements fast, and
yes,
yeah, that's the trick. Yeah, if it was me that was tackling an oil run, a paint run, then I'd just go in there with a pretty high grit sanding stick and knock off the high point of it, because if you just go in there with something that conforms to the shape, you're going to be knocking down the low areas and the high areas at the same time.
Yes, true.
Thanks for that, Tim.
Yeah,
and
that's
I know
awesome.
that Ian appreciates your little thing that you popped in there as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yes,
very cool. Good mate Andy Rausch. God dang it. Hey fellas, just came to possession of a whole stack of letters, probably 40 in total, from my mother-in-law. She was going to throw them out. They've all been written by her father and one of her uncles from overseas in World War II.
Oh.
I've yet to read them, but her dad was in the 985th Field Artillery, and it appears her uncle was in the 60th Infantry Division. There's letters from several different hospitals that appears her uncle was in. Should be some interesting reads. And the date ranges for them are from 1942 to the middle of 1945. Wow, that's a bit of a find, mate.
Yeah, that's some great bit of history.
And you got to wonder how much of that history is sort of just being, missed and lost or tucked away in footlockers in people's attics and basements and stuff like that.
Speaking of someone who said the amount of photographic evidence that's been lost from the Second and First World War.
Yeah.
Because people would have had them in their basements or tucked away somewhere, and then when they passed away, the youngsters got through and emptied the house out and gone, we don't want this old stuff, and threw them out.
Nathan Bradford writes in, G'day guys, I've listened to the last few episodes and have been enjoying them all. The start of episode 171, there was mention of feedback during competitions and how it takes too long. I think the lesson for this is because...
Reason.
Sorry?
You said lesson.
What?
It says, I think the reason.
I think the reason for this is because most competitions are still using pen and paper to complete their scoring rather than embracing technology to make things easier, efficient, and therefore faster. For example, World Model Expo and Scale Model Challenge have embraced more current technology by creating their Emperor system that allows for entry, lodging of payment, and judging all to be completed online. And a side note to that system is actually available free to any other show around the world. I think it fits below 300 model entries, and then above that there's a payment system, just obviously because there's costs in sort of
of course, yeah.
So judges score entries using portable electronic devices such as tablets or smartphones. This alone reduces the data entry requirements of someone transferring the scores into a spreadsheet, database, whatever, and eliminates paper almost completely from the system. One area that no one has tackled electronically yet, as far as I'm aware, is the feedback part, although I know Emperor is looking into implementing this. The way I see it, feedback on the model is spoken between the judges as the judging is being carried out. We all have voice-to-text capabilities on our phones, so as long as the electronic system has a text field for the feedback, then one of the judges just has to speak into their phone for 5 and 10 seconds, and it dictates their feedback straight away, and then they're done. No writing anything down, no need to have a separate sheet of paper, and the feedback is instantly logged against that entry and builder. Anyway, I think that we all, as a hobby, need to move into the more modern age and knock down some of the barriers that have been built up over the years. we've always done it this way type barriers, and embracing technology is one way that we can do that. Thanks for all the entertainment, and I look forward to seeing you all in Canberra at Scale ACT in November. Cheers, Nathan. And everybody, please be like Nathan and go to Canberra Scale ACT. It's going to be an awesome show.
Yes, we look forward to catching up with you, Nathan.
Absolutely. And thanks for that very thoughtful email there.
It's great ideas.
Paul Redding writes in, "Hi Dave, listened to your latest episode whilst on a long return journey driving home from Munich to southwest France. And whilst Julian's comments on cars was of some interest, it would be good to get someone with a bit more auto and maybe truck kit knowledge featured. You mentioned that the lady building in the US tractor units as well as these. There are also some stunning Italeri show trucks, e.g. Revell Fire and Unimog snowplows. Dare I even suggest motorbikes too. Specifically on the E-Type kit, it's actually a new mould from Revell and is very good in both the Roadster and the Coupe. Whilst Julian whinged on about US car kits being old moulds, there are companies now upgrading the moulds and producing enhanced kits based on cars. A lot of this is about the paint finish, i.e. the range is diverse from the 1930s US and European classics, endurance cars, F1, muscle cars, etc. Just researching these models is extremely informative, e.g. the Packard, the Cadillac, the Oldsmobile, not unlike what version of Tiger was produced, etc., etc. Frankly, I don't mind the old kits, even back as far as Limburg. And dare I say, Pyro.
And don't forget Johan.
And Johan, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Johan bought out the Chrysler Turbine.
I got no idea. I have somewhere around 200 to 300 kits of cars, bikes, trucks, as I got into it after Armour became the same old. And it adds a new dimension. There are a lot of modelers out there with larger collections, as is not just the building, but also the box art and the construction detail, etc., etc. A key factor before buying is a bit of research, e.g. using scale mates to see what is in the kit. I built for enjoyment of the research and construction. My airbrushing skills are average at best, and I use the rattle can when that doesn't work. It's all about chilling out and enjoying the subject. Well, that's a fact for sure.
Very true.
I'm sure there are quite a few of your listeners out there who'd be interested in a little more auto stuff. I enjoy the Japanese cars, but there is a much bigger range out there. Anyway, that's my 6 cents for now. Cheers from Paul, who from Auch in southwest France. P.S. Tell Julian's microphone volume balance is the same as yours. I've fixed that up today, hopefully, Paul, so the balance will be the same.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do speak quite close to mine.
Yeah.
It helps me remember, like, the distance that I'm supposed to be, keep it consistent, but it also makes me consistently bad.
But Paul, we actually have had a episode on trucks, and we had a builder from Western Australia.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
I remember truck models used to be really huge back in the 70s. It was a really big thing.
70s and 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of diehards out there still now producing some amazing kits.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's not as prevalent as it used to be.
It's not as prevalent here in Australia as it is like overseas. Like I know that by going like Model Expo here in Melbourne, yeah, you get probably a couple of dozen car kits.
And I think there is.
And then you went over to the States and went to the IPMS Nationals. There was freaking hundreds.
Yeah. It's very good. All right, that's it for the mailbag. Of course, if you want to write into us, our email address is onthebench64@gmail.com. We can't wait to read what you send us. So just shoot an email in and we'll read it out and have a chat about it. All right, let's have a very short break and then we'll see what the Falcon has to say. Yeah.
The Models from Ukraine podcast brings you all the latest news and views from the model manufacturers of Ukraine and the modelers that support them. With interviews including Mini Arts, ICM, Armory Models, ResKit, Dora Wings, Ace Model and many more, you can find out what some of the best model companies in the world are doing and how you can help them and Ukraine. Check out the Models from Ukraine podcast on your podcast app of choice or at modelsfromukraine.buzzsprout.com.
Okay, rolling right into it. Let's have a look at what the Falcon has to say today. First of all, we'll start with aircraft. The unfortunately named RS models will be releasing a 48 scale kit of the Messerschmitt P1101. This is a Luftwaffe 1946 What If, and it will come in two different versions.
Well, they actually did build one.
Did they?
A wooden mock-up.
That's
There's actually even colour photos of it.
That doesn't count. It has to be the real thing.
Yeah, well, I think a mock-up is a bit closer than the What If to reality. It comes in two versions, a standard day fighter and a night fighter version. Dora wings, and this is some interesting stuff here, which our two guests who we're having on later will find particularly interesting. Dora wings have shown the sprues and test build of their new 1/72nd scale Fairy Delta FD2. Fans of British experimental aircraft often complain the interests are ignored. Well, there you go. Now you can stop complaining. They also have shown a built test shot of their 72nd scale version of the Volti Vengeance dive bomber. It certainly looks a lot better than the frog kit I had built as a youngster.
Yeah.
Dora have provided evidence that they continue to work on their 48 scale Moran Saulnier, the MS 405, 406 and 410. By showing the transparency sprue, they're hoping to have the kit ready for release in early 2024. Mark 1 models have announced a new series of 1 to 1/44th scale de Havilland Canada Twin Otters. There'll be 4 boxings initially. Twin Otter in America, Twin Otter in civilian skies, Twin Otter in worldwide military service, and Twin Otter holiday season, which I'm assuming is some sort of livery thing. Sword models will be releasing 2 72nd scale boxings of the Vought Crusader photo recon aircraft. There's going to be the F8U 1P RF-8A over Cuba and the RF-8G over Vietnam, and both of these should be available from October. Great Wall Hobby have shown sprue shots of their forthcoming Fairchild Republic A10C Thunderbolt 2. The detail looks very nice with compressor blades of the engine looking very convincing. Great Wall Hobby claim they have made a lot of effort on getting the complex nose shape right. I guess that we can make up our own minds on how successful they have been when the kit is released later this year. What scale is it going to be in?
I presume 48.
Okay. A model will release 3 72nd scale variants of the Embraer EMB 145 airliner. There's going to be one in the livery of City Airline and British Airways, one for Aero Mexico and American Eagle, and one for LU Cross Air and Lux Air. In December, Trumpeter will be releasing a 148 scale kit of the Chinese two-place jet trainer JJ7. The kit comes with canopy mask, rubber tyres, and a very small photo etch fret. Airfix are re-releasing a new boxing of their 72nd scale Handley Page Vulcan V bomber, an Avro Vulcan B2 Black Buck. The kit includes new sprue with Falkland modifications, and if you are lucky enough to be among the first 500 buyers, you will get a special collector's coin.
Ooh.
Can't not miss out on that, can you? There's been a lot of commotion in forums because Airfix have made a mistake on the pylon for the ECM pod. They have misinterpreted a photo, confusing the undercarriage door for the pylon. While it's not the end of the world, you may be able to modify the part, but it doesn't say a lot for the research that's being done by Airfix for this particular kit.
Mistakes can happen.
Rumour file. Oh, this looks exciting. A prominent Brazilian aircraft historian and professional modeller who has long and close public relationship with kinetic models has spoken of a new family of 148 scale A4 Skyhawks coming soon. He didn't say who would be doing them, but I think we can safely assume he's talking about kinetic. And isn't the world hanging out for a new release of the A4 Skyhawk.
Definitely.
Yes.
Let's hope to see what models they actually do. This is your section, Julian. Automotive. Hilaria to release a second boxing of their 1/12 scale Lancer Delta rally car. The Lancer Delta HF Integral 16 valve, isn't it? San Remo 1989 is said to be a partially new tool. So basically the same as the earlier kit, but with new parts for this particular version. What makes the kit stand out from the first boxing is the colour. It's red instead of white. And buying one might put you in the red as it's listed at €200.
They're big models.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. Gee, what's that? That's close to nearly $400 Aussie or $350 Aussie.
Yeah, something like that. It's a fair bit of cash.
Military vehicles, Copper State Models, Ian's favourite manufacturer.
Yeah, one of my favourite manufacturers, yes.
Have shown box art for their soon-to-be-released 1/35 scale Garford Politov armoured car. Well, actually, 3 box arts, as there will be 3 boxings. It's going to be the standard, one in Free Corps service, and one in Latvian, Polish, and Soviet service.
Yeah.
That thing's weird.
I love it. I'll be getting one. So I'll just get the standard one.
Academy are to release a 1/35 scale kit of the German World War II Panther OS FG. Early production. Don't know a lot more other than there will be 7 marking options.
Oh, that's a fair bit.
There's quite a few, actually.
But by the way, Ian, one of those Putilov armoured cars has a skull on it.
Yeah, that'd be the Freikorps. Freikorps had a habit of putting skull and crossbones on all their
Is that what you're
vehicles.
going to be doing?
No.
No.
Why would you be doing that? You're renowned for doing your skull and crossbones, and also for your.
That's just the German Civil War, really.
What's wrong with that?
But I prefer doing it as originally as it was in the First World War. And going off what you've just put on your screen there's the one at the top left with the camouflage, looks really cool.
Oh yeah, yep. It's very World War One camouflage. Yeah.
Ugly car.
Very, very
ugly.
It's not made for looks.
It's more like here's a horse-drawn cart looking thing, right? Here's a cannon and here's 2 sets of machine guns. Put them on there any way you see fit.
Yeah.
And they didn't do a very good job of it.
No. Dragon Models will be re-releasing 2 1/35 scale German half-track kits. The SDKFZ 250/new will come with magic tracks, turned metal width indicators, bonus Gen 2 machine gun sets, and miscellaneous trip equipment. There's also an optional canvas tarpaulin. The SDKFZ 250/9 2cm reconnaissance. This kit will come with some extras, minus the canvas top, but you get a cute little turret as compensation.
It's a great little kit. I remember when I built my one. It was a fantastic little build. Really enjoyed that little 250.
Is that the one where it's sitting behind the wall that you built, looking over the
No, that
wall?
was a Stug. That's the one that's in front of a fence, and there's like a German officer in the P camouflage standing in front of it. The back door's open. It's been abandoned.
Yeah. Moving on. Trumpeter will release in December a 1/35 scale ZP RKDB 96K6, a Panster S1 tracked.
I've got no idea what that is.
Anti-aircraft thing.
Right.
Modern version. The kit includes indie tracks, 2 frets of photo etch, and provides 2 marking options. Thunder Models have shown new renders for their 35th scale F30 long-range Desert Group patrol truck. Haven't heard any complaints, so it looks like they have got it right. It is coming out in October. Many Art have just announced a 1/35 scale STU H.42 OS FG mid-production July-October 43. There'll be 6 marking options, one of which from Stug G, how do you say that word? Abtalong, thank you. 276 is particularly eye-catching, says the Falcon. Gecko Models have a couple of new models based on their existing 1/35 scale Bedford MW kits. Bedford 1500 weight 4x2 200-gallon water bowser truck, which is an open cab aero screen, and a Bedford MWR FFW radio command truck. The kit features a fully detailed interior with complete radio sets and aerials. There is also a nice canvas tilt included to cover up all that detail. Mirage Hobby have just announced a 72nd scale M31/T2 heavy wrecker, a US World War II tank recovery vehicle with a Garwood crane. The kit includes plastic, photo etched and 3D printed parts.
Oh, I've seen a photo of that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It looks like, you know what it looks like?
What?
It looks like a self-propelled ballista that's launching a dude.
It does.
Self-propelled ballista.
Did I see recently on a YouTube or something, there's one towing a Sherman just recently at a armour festival or something?
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's got like a guy like laying flat on top of the actual crane bit on the box art. It's very funny looking.
With this kit, you also get 3D printed figures and new 3D printed movable tracks. I'll be very interested to see how the 3D printed tracks in 72nd scale turn out. Moving on to miscellaneous. In this category, you might expect me to be talking about real space, like a 1/72nd scale rocket, but no, it's a dinosaur. X Plus will be releasing a 35th scale kit of the Spinosaur from Jurassic Park 3, The Lost World. 41 centimetre long Spinosaurus Agapicus Egypticus comes with a base featuring a partially submerged water crane.
And the reason it's called Egypticus is because that's where they originally found in Egypt.
Oh, there you go. If a 35th scale dinosaurs are your jam, X Plus have also released a 1/35th scale Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I've seen that. It's a nice kit.
Since 1/30 cheeky this Falcon. Since 1/35th scale dinosaurs are now a thing, I guess it's only a matter of time before we see a dio of a T-Rex in German camo being ridden by a Waffen SS soldier.
If you're going to go that far, you may as well do that really good scene from Iron Sky 2.
Yeah, with Adolf Hitler on the
Adolf Hitler riding his T-Rex called Blondie.
Yeah, indeed.
I'd rather see the scene from Jurassic Park where the T-Rex,
bites the guy in the loop.
Yeah, on the toilet, yeah.
That's all for this week from the Falcon, and I want to take this opportunity to again thank the Falcon for all the hard work he does in producing this each fortnight. We actually have rewarded him once for doing it by giving him a sweatshirt that actually has his name on it.
Yes.
So if you ever see him wearing it, you'll know who the Falcon is.
Correct.
But, he does a lot of work, and we really appreciate it. And I know the listeners get a lot of entertainment out of this. All right, before we move on to our fantastic interview with Kentucky Dave and El Presidente Tim, I just want to do another shout-out to our really good mate Clayton Ockerby. Go and have a look at his workbench hobbies on YouTube. His latest one is awesome with the Takem M29 Weasel that he tries to build.
From what I watched it last night, and it looks like a bit of a dog of a kit to try and put together.
I think it is. But it's great that he went ahead and actually had a crack at it and show all the pitfalls and what wasn't going well. It's just a really entertaining and great. So check him out, Workbench Hobbies on YouTube. And we'll be catching up with him in Canberra as well.
Definitely.
All right, let's have another short break and we'll launch into our interview. Be back very shortly. Whether you build aircraft, armour, ships, science fiction, cars or figures, the Fine Scale Modeller magazine provides the how-to information you need to take your modelling to the next level. In each issue of Fine Scale Modeller, you'll find clear how-to features on model assembly and finishing written by experts, reviews of the hottest model kits and products, tips and techniques for assembling, painting and finishing, as well as inspiring photos of readers' models. To find out how you can get your copy of Fine Scale Modeller, go to www.finescale.com. And it takes great pleasure for me to introduce our two guests for our segment on 1/72nd scale. We have, first of all, El Presidente, Tim Holland.
Yay.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
And, of course, you're on the other podcast called The Model Geeks with all the rest of the crew over there. So it's fantastic to have you on. And let's, of course, not forget that whiskey-sipping hayseed from Kentucky.
Everyone's mate.
Kentucky Dave, how you going?
Greetings, gentlemen. And yes, I've got a bourbon with me right now.
Good to hear.
Well, of course, when I was thinking about our 172nd episode, what else but could we talk about but 172nd scale in general? So, and I know that both Tim and Dave, they're prolific builders in that scale, almost exclusive in that scale, I'd almost go as far to say.
Yeah.
So, hence the reason for getting both of them on. But what exactly is 1/72nd scale, which I think is a great opening question? And if we just pan across to perhaps having a look at Wikipedia.
Because we're lazy.
The pillar of information.
Which just happens to say that 1/72nd scale is a scale used for scale models, most commonly model aircraft, where 1 inch on the model equals 6 feet, which is 72 inches in real life. The scale is popular for aircraft because sizes ranging from small fighters to large bombers are all reasonably manageable and displayable. The history of it started back, I think the original one was with Skybirds and Frog Penguin aircraft models, which were produced in the UK back in the 1930s, and was subsequently used for aircraft recognition models by the Allies in World War II. More subjects and genres are covered in this scale than any other. Widespread in Western and Eastern Europe, Japan, and Latin America, the scale is extremely popular in the UK, but less so in Australia, Canada, and the US, where 148 is more prevalent. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Who's writing these articles?
Manufacturers of aircraft kits past and present in 72nd scale include Airfix, Frog, Nova, Revell, Italeri, Tamiya, Hasegawa, Hella, Monogram, and Matchbox. In recent years, scale has also gained popularity for military model vehicles, also used for Japanese anime science fiction models, die-cast model cars, figures, radio-controlled model ships, as well as soldiers. And I want to add to that also real space subjects. 1/72nd scale is certainly one of the most popular
ships
scale.
and submarines.
Yeah, particularly radio-controlled. In fact, here in Australia, we have a massive Australia-wide club called Task Force 72, which build radio-controlled ships exclusively in the 72nd scale range. So let's kick back over. Gentlemen, why do you build in 72nd scale?
Well, Dave, you missed one thing in the Wikipedia entry where it says God's one true scale.
Or as we refer to it, the gentleman's scale.
The gentleman's scale, yes.
See,
the gentleman's scale.
For that reason,
right.
I can't call it the true scale because it's based on imperial measurements, right?
Oh.
And since we're a metric-based society,
I would point out the only country in the world that's been to the moon is the only country that still uses the imperial scale.
Well, that was done by NASA, and NASA uses metric.
You make with that, you make from that what you will.
So I'd like to point out that that in 1/72nd scale, it is also metric because 1 millimeter in 72nd scale is equal to 72 millimeters in the full scale.
El Presidente coming in and sniping everybody else.
Yes, well done.
That's right. It may have originated with imperial measurements, but it's still applicable.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, for me, that Wikipedia entry sums it up pretty well, but doesn't go far enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's the scale that you can do the most in. You can do everything from a small fighter to a 72nd scale bomber, even a B-52. You can do a submarine of reasonable size. You can do military vehicles. In fact, in 72nd scale right now, the hottest growing area is 72nd scale armor.
Yep.
The stuff coming out from Vespid and IBG, that stuff is awesome.
Yeah, I was really impressed, particularly by the 72nd scale armor in at the Nats last year, was it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That I was at.
It is really not. So if you have wide-ranging interests, everybody thinks of it as an airplane scale. But if you have wide-ranging interests and you want to keep a constant scale, I can have a Redstone rocket, an LCM landing craft, a Japanese midget submarine, a Panther tank, a Stug, a single-engine fighter, and a 4-engine bomber, all in my display case.
Yep.
I mean, that's the attraction of the scale to me. Over to you, Tim.
Similar. That's how I got into the scale when I was young. I like most folks, when I started building, I was building anything I could get. So it didn't matter what it was, cars, spaceships, and scale was something I had no idea what it was. And then suddenly I noticed that Revell seemed to be releasing a lot of kits, Revell and Monogram both, that were all in this thing called 172. And suddenly I could have, as Dave says, I could have a bomber, I could have a fighter, and interestingly, I could have a biplane and I could have a jet. I could have them sitting side by side on my shelf, and I could see and visual, not only just look at it, but I could handle something that was in the same scale relative in terms of size, and it gave me an early understanding of how things had developed very quickly, and so that's really why. The only thing I'll add to that is that I also like to do collections. So I'll have. I think I've got 24 Wildcats on the shelf, so that I've got all the variants except for the G36, but all the variants of Wildcats through from the Mark 1 Martlet all the way up through the FM2, which was the Martlet Mark 6. So I've got all of those in both US and UK markings, and that's something that is hard to do in other scales, other than you could potentially do that in 144. But up until recently, you really didn't have a whole lot of options there.
And more importantly, too, at that scale, it's not taking up a lot of real estate.
No, not at all. I've got them all on one shelf in my display cabinet.
Oh wow!
And Tim,
they're a bit tight.
Yeah. Tim, that's a good additional thing that I didn't think to mention. You're right. If you are wanting to build a multiple of the same type for comparison, either markings, let's say you want to build a 109 in every different country that used it, whatever. Even in 48 scale, which it's a reasonable scale. It's not God's one true scale. It's a reasonable scale. But if you have 10 or 12 109s, that's a lot of table space or shelf space, where 10 72nd scale 109s, you can display the collection, and it's easy to comprehend and easy to move.
Yep.
Right.
I think,
and it's also easier to do a collection of, whether it's a 109 or a Spitfire, every single mark.
Right.
And I'm working on a collection of Spitfires that go all the way from the prototype to the FR-47, and it's I think I'm up to 77 Spitfires on my shelf, and of course in that particular case it takes 3 shelves, not just one. But it's and I've got holes because the it turns out I'm going to have to kit bash in order to fill some of those holes that the kits just don't exist.
Yep.
But I would bet that if you did that in 48 scale, you would have many more holes to fill, just simply because in 72nd scale there are more marks available.
Yep, totally agree.
Right. Yeah, you're totally correct. And at some point, all of the marks were available. I just didn't move quick enough to buy them because they were either in resin or some other mixed media, and just I didn't know about it because I was just not savvy enough to pick up on it quick enough.
And I think the other thing, Tim, that you touched on earlier on is that 72nd scale, I think everybody at some point started in that scale, certainly when we were kids, building back in the 60s, 70s, or, even the 80s, because it was...
we could afford it.
Exactly right, yeah. So a 72nd scale, you had to go, $2.50, $5 maybe for a new release or something like that.
I remember when I was a youngster, I used to go down the local shop, the corner shop, and they'd sell the bagged Airfix kits.
Yeah.
For a few bucks, and for I think it was about 50 cents, you get a little tin of Humbrol paint.
That's right, yeah. And
you guys are young. I remember doing the same thing back in the 60s and, taking my 75 cents of allowance and walking in and getting a kit and having just enough left over that I could decide to either get one tin of Pactra enamels, whatever, I think that's what it was called, was Pactra enamel. And or I could get some sort of tool like a new brush or some sanding sticks, or and of course sanding sticks were AKA emery boards for
that's
fingernails.
Right.
Yeah.
So those were the kind of and it was 75 cents, and it was I remember just absolutely going bonkers, looking forward to getting down to the corner drugstore and getting one.
That was the other thing with those Airfix blister pack and bag kits. Not only were they ridiculously inexpensive, but the way Airfix was releasing at the time, every month you were going to walk into the hobby shop and there was going to be a new one.
Yes.
Yeah.
The rate of release was such that every time.
Yeah, and they also were Matchbox. They were pretty big back in the day.
Yeah, well, Matchbox came in. Now, I don't know, Tim, maybe you can correct me also, Dave, but didn't they start off at 176 scale, did they not, in the Matchbox kits?
With the armour kits, I think they might have.
Yeah.
It was armour. And Airfix did the same thing.
Yeah, Airfix did the same thing.
Because that was
HO
scale.
Yeah, for railway.
Yeah. And interestingly, the aircraft started at 72nd scale.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and that's
I think it was 00 scale.
Yeah,
it's
double O scale.
Yes.
Yeah, 00 scale, not HO.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. HO is
which was a
187.
Yep. Right, which was in 00 scale was the standard UK railroad scale.
Mm.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And that's the funny thing. If you look at the Airfix catalog, Mike, when we were at the Nationals, Mike bought an Airfix catalog from the early 1970s for nostalgia purposes, and half their armor is in 76 scale and half of it is in 72nd scale. And it just, there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason as to exactly why they did that or when they did it or what the reasoning behind it was.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It is. And 72nd scale still maintains its popularity. In fact, if you guys have a listen to the show once it's published, the Falcon's got a lot of new releases to announce today. Aircraft in 72nd scale, just continually still producing new stuff.
Well, I mean, it's
the
most accessible scale to get into if you're a new manufacturer.
Yes, that's a point too. I never considered that. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing. I'm sure Tim has heard this all his life, and I have too, is that 72nd scale is dying. That every 10 years we get told 70-second scale's dying. It's an irrelevant scale.
That.
Nobody builds that anymore. And by the way, go to the Nationals and count the number of 70-second scale single engine prop planes versus 48 scale single engine prop planes.
Yes.
70-second scale dominates that number.
It does. I judged one group that was a split of a split, and we had 29 models.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was a split of a split. So you got to remember that means it was well over 100 models in that particular category. When the day started.
Well, and that's another thing at the Nationals that I always talk about, loving 70-second scale. If you go to the Nationals and you walk along the 48 scale single engine World War II fighters, it's 109, 190, 0, Mustang, Thunderbolt, Hellcat, Corsair. There's the same same darn aircraft again and again. Whereas if you go look at if you go and look at 70-second scale, you'll see things as varied as a Yugoslavian IK-3, a Polish PZL-11, a Finnish Fokker D-21. I mean, you'll see a huge variety of different types of aircraft, and I really enjoy that.
Well, as I said just before, you have a listen to what the Falcon's got to say, because some of the kits that are coming out in 70-second scale is just astounding. Some of the subject matter that's being announced is incredible. You'd never see it in a scale other than 70-second scale.
Yep.
You know what? You know what I do wish though. I wish the older. And there's a lot, like 70-second scale being as old as it is, I wish they'd get rid of some of the really old crude kits. You know, because it does lower the standard by quite a bit. Like if you actually got rid of those, like 70-second scale would have like a much better reputation overall.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
People getting into it make the mistake of going to a show and buying an old Airfix or Matchbox kit and not realizing what modern 70-second scale is.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
well, you can't put it up
because they can get it for $1.
Yeah, because they can get it for $1. Ian,
Yep.
Ian, did you build the Musaru, the P-51?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that was a stunning kit.
Thank you. That just goes to show you where kit technology has gone.
Oh yeah.
And that is, to me, one of the most amazingly engineered 70-second scale kits I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, look, I think it was just absolutely the only bug I had with the kit were the tires, because they were mismolded.
Yeah.
Well, that's what resin aftermarket is for.
But as we know, Dave, by the rules, we weren't allowed to use. Because to do the one I did, I actually had to use a different tire to make it proper. I would have had to use a different tire pattern.
Yeah, to do the Aussie one,
do the Australian one. But since I couldn't with the rules, I just tried to fix up the
just
tires the best I could.
Well, you pop up, you attach them with white glue, and then as soon as you take the pictures, you pop them off.
That's a good idea.
Put the resin replacements on.
Yes, might still do that.
That's exactly what I did, because you and I built the same aircraft,
the Australian one,
and I did the same thing. I built the ones from the kit. I tacked them on. I took pictures, popped them off. 48, the resin aftermarket.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, but I'd offer, if you're going to spend that much money for a 70-second scale single engine fighter, it should have the correct wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it isn't Tim, because you've got one model kit that's representing, I think you could have done 6 different types.
Yeah, well, there was
right.
five, but one was redone as a captured.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying, where the wheels should have been perfect to begin with, but unfortunately, all the different air forces, Allied air forces, use different tyres for some reason.
Well, especially us Aussies.
Well, and that is the only variation that they missed on that kit. Every other with the multiple options, they had every other setup of radios and everything else. But they did just miss the fact that the Australians used the square block tires.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
72nd scale is also one of the scales where you can build the bombers, and indeed like there's a Hercules and the P8s, Poseidons.
Yes.
And
yes.
Don't forget, you can also I'll still, if I can find one day at a reasonable price, the old monogram Peacemaker.
Oh yes! Oh my god! And
I got 3 of those.
Oh, lucky you!
Oh,
They're amazing looking
Tim,
airplanes.
I've only got 2 of them.
Oh, only 2.
Yeah.
We got 2 more than me.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. You're dealing with 72nd scale specialists here. They're always got multiples of everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to. Yeah, you remember there was a few episodes back where I had to come clean on the size of my stash and realized that I had approaching 1,000 kits that were unbuilt. Wow. And so I also made the realization that I will never build 3 Peacemakers. But what I will do is seriously, what I will do is that if I screw up the first one, I'll throw that one away and I'll start the second one. Yeah. And until I get one right, once I get it right, then I'll sell off what's left of my Peacemakers.
And there is another advantage of 72nd scale. You can
Absolutely.
buy 2 of it. You can buy 2 of everything, so you have a backup in case you mess up.
Yes.
Whereas if you try,
I tend to buy 3 every time a new one gets released. I buy 3 unless I know I want to do a collection, and then I'll buy the number I want for the collection.
I like how you actually dodged saying a number there, and you just said the number, because it could be 20,
I don't
right?
know. In some cases, in some cases it's 5. In some cases it's 7 or 8. It just depends. Like the recent Arma Hobby FM2, I ended up buying seven of those because I wanted to do all the different schemes and markings that the combination carried. Initially, I only bought 6, and then I had to buy a 7th one when they released the one with the orange trainer.
You had to buy it. I like the way
I had to. I had to because my collection is incomplete without it.
That's it.
By the way, see, Tim, I have the opposite idea on the stash. I'm glad I've got a large stash because my theory is that I won't die until I complete the last model. So at this point, I'm going to live to about 250 years old.
Yeah.
So your stash is like Dorian's mirror, except you can just keep adding to it.
It's either that or like in my case, I think the math says I've got to complete either 25 or 50 a year. If in order to finish before my likely demise.
That's 1 a week. You better pull your finger out, Tim.
Yeah. Well, that's my build rate has been between a dozen and 20 for the last 8 or 9 years. So I do have to crank it up, but it's and collections I do them in batches. So I've got I believe it's 6 KI-84s, and I'm probably saying the KI, what is it, Key, I think?
Yeah.
Key 84.
Say KI.
Yeah, I've said KI for the last 60 years, so why can't I continue to say it?
Yeah.
So so I've got 6 of those. I think 4 Arma Hobby and 2 of the old Hasegawa ones that I'm doing as a batch build. And, suddenly my build rate for 2023 will jump up by 6 when I finish those. And I'm currently at the engine stage, so working on that.
Don't worry about it. He who dies with the largest stash wins anyway, so,
That's right.
Dave,
I'm hoping. The thing is I don't want those dirty bastards in the club, and I know they're listening to this. Those dirty bastards in the club to get my stash.
Tim, may I recommend that you contact a really good attorney who can draw up a will in such a way as your collection is going to be adequately protected?
If only when you were a good attorney, though.
Yeah. So are his initials David Knights?
No, it's actually Jim. Actually, Jim Bates. Jim is an estate attorney. I don't do that stuff.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to just drag you back and challenge you on the point where you said that one of the good things about 70-second scale is you can buy multiple kits and it's not cheap. Go and get yourself a Saturn 5, and then come back. Come back and talk to me about cheap.
Okay, go get a Saturn 5 and 48 scale and call me.
Remind me again. I think you have to scratch build that.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah. So again, it's available. It might be hideously expensive, but it's available in 70-second scale.
Yes,
it's not available in 48.
Well, I'll actually take a step back and trip on my own tongue, because technically it's the Saturn 5 and 70-second scale is not that expensive when you look at how much plastic you're getting in comparison to, say, buying an aircraft carrier in 1/350 scale with all the associated add-ons. So you're still not doing too bad, actually.
I'll be honest with you. I am convinced the hardest part of the hobby to get into is ships, 350th scale ships.
Oh, no, it's the easiest part to get into.
No, okay, if you want to get somebody into 350th scale ships, what kit are you going to have them buy?
A Tamiya. So no, definitely a Tamiya, and maybe one of the like the Tone or something like that. Because
you get something if there's a beginner, get the Fletcher class
or the Fletcher. Those things
Fletcher
just
class. That's
all together. Yeah, they're beautiful kits at 1/350.
People who are getting into the hobby don't have the luxury of being able to know which is the best kit. Right? They go into a store, they grab the thing off the shelf, and they go, "Oh, it looks good," and they judge it on the box art.
It's true.
They don't even know what scale they're getting.
It's true.
Well, I was talking with Ian McCauley, a Canadian friend of ours, who's retired, and he works at a hobby shop part-time. And he says that one of the downsides of YouTube and all of these really talented YouTube modelers is that people will come in after having seen some of those YouTubes and will buy stuff never having done anything before, and they're setting themselves up for failure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They go, if he can do it, I can do it.
And not only that,
exactly.
as some of the YouTubers say, they're not showing you all the retakes and the mistakes they're doing, because it's been fully edited to present a nice, slick product as to how they build a particular kit. You're not seeing the mistakes they made. You're not seeing all that sort of stuff and the hardship we have to go through.
That's the advantage of podcasts. We don't do any of that.
Well, exactly. We can tell
you don't see the mule that gets with all the testing that gets done before they actually do it on the actual model they're working on.
Well, it's funny because our good mate Clayton Ockerby, who's got a YouTube channel called Workbench Hobbies, he's just released his latest one, which is on the Takem M29 Weasel. And he actually shows how much of a dog of a kit it is.
Mm.
And so there's no hiding there. He's actually up front and saying, this is...
Well, from what Clayton was saying, if you want to tackle the kit, you should have had to be experienced in doing 1/350 scale ships.
Yeah.
Because the parts are about the same size.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Well, and there's another advantage of YouTube is in the old days when we relied on magazines, I don't think the reviews were nearly as honest.
Yes. Agreed.
As a YouTuber's review.
Agreed.
Because the magazine always had skin in the game.
Yeah.
Whereas most YouTubers, unless they're tied to a particular manufacturer, assuming they're buying their own stuff, you're going to get an honest review, and it's going to be, hey, this weasel is a bear of a kit. If you want a weasel, you can do it, but here's what you're getting yourself into.
Exactly, that's correct, yeah. Totally agree.
Well, it's
I'll tell you what, if I had a YouTube channel, there'd be a lot of videos where I just piff the thing into the bin. I mean, that would be entertaining in itself, just watching me drag myself through glass and then at the end of it just throw it in the bin out of frustration.
Well, if you recall,
Julian, I think you found a niche that's not yet filled on YouTube called bin modeling, where every YouTube is you getting halfway done and pitching it.
Yeah, I'll call the channel like Planning for Failure or something.
Well, we actually did on an episode. I actually destroyed a model on air once.
Well, that was years ago.
That was years ago. It was some sort of silly submarine or something that was driving me nuts, and I got a hammer out and smashed it as we were recording.
In our local club, we've got a name for that. It's called El Stompo Bravo. And you put the kid on the floor and just crash it with your foot.
Yeah, in our club, we call it colonizing. And colonizing because we've got one modeler whose first name is Colin. And he is famous for, in his basement, just stopping out of frustration, just stopping on a model, turning and throwing it against the wall so that it just shatters on the concrete wall in his basement. And we refer to that as colonizing. And it's amazing how often guys will come to the monthly meeting and talk about a kit, and it's not on the table, and we're like, well, what happened to it? And they'll go, oh, I colonized it. It was that bad. And everybody knows exactly what he means.
Because I listened to your show, I've actually picked up and used that term colonising now. And it's funny, I've even heard another Aussie modeler actually refer to colonising a kit as well. And it's sort of like a double meaning to it, because you're like, when you chuck it against a wall, all the sort of pieces fly out like the British Empire colonising the world. So that's how I sort of explain it when I say I'm colonising a kit.
Yeah, so Colin is actually riding with me to a show tomorrow, and I'll have to mention to him that he's gone international.
Make him listen, Dave. To bring it back to 70-second scale, there is.
Do we have to? Let's move on to 48 scale.
No, get back to it.
There is another advantage of 70-second scale kits.
Yeah.
If you mess up, you can throw it in the bin and go buy another one. And in most cases, you haven't put a huge hole in your wallet. I mean, now I'm not talking about some high end, but a 70-second scale single engine aircraft, a Tamiya Zero, which, by the way, you could never screw up because it is the most perfect kit that's ever been made. But the Tamiya 70-second scale Zero, I picked them up at shows all day long for $15.
Right.
You know what?
Perfect price.
If that goes in the trash, A, I need to turn in my modeler's card, but B, so what? I just go grab another one off the shelf. It's $15 freaking.
Yeah. Is it fair to say, as a comment, that also they're easier to source than other scales? So
in many cases,
yeah. Because in 48 scale, because of the large scale and the cost of manufacturing, you're only going to get one particular kit coming from a manufacturer, whereas in 72nd scale, you might have a couple of different manufacturers producing the same kit.
Well, not only that, but you think of the distributors. If they're purchasing 48 scale kits, they've got X amount of space to store X amount of 48 scale kit, whereas 72nd scale kit, they can purchase twice as many and fit them into the same space.
Yeah. That's right.
Let's put it this way. If I'm looking for something in 72nd scale, I rarely have a problem finding somewhere where it's available.
Yeah. Or some manufacturers built it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there are exceptions. I mean, there's the occasional kit or not kit subject that you still, they're almost unicorns. I could come up with a few off the top of my head, but there's there's a number of subjects that I am still waiting for.
But Tim,
and hopefully eventually, because my other option is I scratch build it. Yeah, okay, I've got 1,000 kits. I got something else I can build in the meantime. Right. But yeah, I do want, in order to have broader collections that I'm kind of sort of building, in order to have them complete, I want these other particular aircraft as subjects. I want them on the shelf with them because they have meaning to me.
And there's two, following on from that also, there's two other parts to that, Tim, is that there's vacuum form in 72nd scale, which we haven't spoken about, which was really the cottage industry on the side for making these really super rare aircraft that the mainstream manufacturers wouldn't touch. But also now the advent of 3D printing and how ubiquitous it's become, it's a lot cheaper to sort of also manufacture and print that at home because you're losing less resin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I'm actually on my wish list is a desire to have the skills to design a kit so that I can resin print and fill some of those holes because apparently nobody's going to release them. And especially given that they happen to be biplanes from the 30s, 20s, and I suspect that nobody will ever actually release a mainstream kit of those.
Tim?
Yes, sir.
What do you think is the biggest hole in 72nd scale right now?
Oh, geez. The biggest
single
hole
kit.
is
single kit. One item.
For many years, it was. I felt strongly that it was the ferry battle, and the good news is Azure From is going to release one in this year or early next year. So I can now take that one off my list, and the next one is a Spitfire Mark 12. There have been kits released of that in the past in 72nd scale. But they're questionable quality and very hard to get now. So you really got to do a conversion in order to get there. But that's off the top of my head. Now, if I wanted to start talking about some naval aviation subjects from the 30s, the 20s and 30s
I'm talking relatively
historically
mainstream.
Mainstream? Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if it's mainstream, then it would definitely have to be the Spitfire 12 right now. I'm
going to go with the Privateer.
Oh,
I can't argue with that. I cannot argue.
I do not understand why we do not have a modern Privateer.
Didn't Matchbox do a Privateer?
Yes, that's what you got to do if you want to do a Privateer.
Yeah, and but it is an awful kit.
Oh, could imagine.
I mean, if you sit down and try to build that thing, you're going to go, why? You're going to be asking the question, why is this the best there is for this aircraft? It's the best one that's available for the.
It's the only one.
You're right, Dave. I concede that is easily probably the. That's probably the number one kit. And yes, I do have a couple of the Matchbox kits in my stash, but you got to start by replacing the. Yeah, I know. You got to start by replacing the engines, and not just the engine, but the engine nacelles, everything.
But
all the way into the wing.
If you have a base kit, and I know we're sort of really drilling down to specific aircraft now. So if you got a base B-24, and I'm thinking of the RAF equivalent of the Privateer. For us, it's a Lincoln bomber, and there was a really good resin kit that came out to convert the Lancaster into the Lincoln, and it does a really good job.
I'm going to express a terribly unpopular opinion with most people. I don't think the Lancaster is particularly attractive. I think the Lincoln is one of the most attractive bombers I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
That's a spicy take.
Especially the long-nosed Lincoln.
Yes.
Wow. Jeez. Well,
I'm impressed.
So am I.
Impressed.
If I was to pick a bomber that I think is the most sexiest looking bomber, I'd have to go with the Peacemaker. That really gets my juices flowing.
Yeah, that's why you've got to go back and watch Strategic Air Command at least once a year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I've got a whole set of movies. If I'm like got the man flu and I'm laying on the couch dying, I've got Zulu is one of them. A Bridge Too Far. These are the movies I'll watch when I'm laying on the couch, coughing my lungs up and praying to God that I'm not going to go to him later on that evening. And having Strategic Air Command is not something I've got in my DVD collection, which you can slip in, and it's not something you can readily find on the streaming channels either.
Yeah.
No, but you can pick up a DVD. You can pick up a DVD of it fairly cheap, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. I've got to get it.
Right.
I've got to get it.
And believe it or not, if you do a quick search on YouTube, you can actually see the one sequence where the B-36 is on the tarmac. They do the pre-flight. It taxis out and flies and
six turning and four burning.
Yeah, exactly. And it's absolutely a beautiful. I watch that about every 6 or 8 weeks. I'll pull it up.
I'm going to say I'm jealous of anybody who actually saw it fly or even flew in it. That that would have been just awesome.
Dave, one of my great memories from the 1988 Nationals in Dayton was that on Friday night, the Air Force Museum closed the museum and then reopened it for only the convention members. And then they took down all the ropes and opened up all the airplanes. And you could get in. Could get in any airplane that you wanted. And my two favorite memories were, one, getting in the B-36, standing on the engineer's seat and looking out the Astrodome back toward the tail and realizing how long that was.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, you've touched
you
on one of my
the next time zone.
You've touched on one of my favorite
one,
soapbox things there, Dave, and that's history should not be observed behind a velvet rope.
Yes, I agree, which is why the U.S. Naval Air Force Museum is the best aircraft museum I've ever been to. Nothing's behind a rope.
Oh, it's the same in Hawaii too. You need to get to the Hawaii Air Museum there. That's exactly the same.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So, David, you're talking about the one down in Pensacola?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Guys, if you ever get an opportunity to go to Pensacola, you got to go to that museum. Yeah.
It is. I've been a charter member since it was founded back in the the early to mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it when it was a Quonset hut with Mincy sitting out front, and that was it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Hey, a bit of trivia. My name is actually on the wall at the museum there.
Oh,
I think mine is too.
Well, hang on. Doing
graffiti doesn't count.
Yeah, tagging your name on the wall doesn't count.
No, it's there in an official capacity.
Oh,
well, mine's a donor.
Yeah, well, in my case, it's when the QB Point, the Philippines, QB Point Oak Club was closed down. They moved the Officers Club. They moved that to the Pensacola Museum, Naval Air Museum. And part of that movement was they took the cruise plaques that were on the wall. Each squadron, as it went through, would mount a plaque that would have all of the officers' names, as well as the squadron logo, etc. And of course, I'm listed on one that's there.
And now it's the restaurant in the museum. They've taken a lot of that stuff and put it up in to recreate kind of that restaurant in the museum.
Yeah, and to some degree it does. When I walked in, it felt like I was walking into the QBO club because it was just as humid as it was in the Philippines, just as hot. And when I walked in, the one thing it didn't have was the smell, but that's a different story.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. That was a good thing, and it is very interesting to walk in there because it felt like I had gone back. At that point, it was probably 20 plus years that I had been in QB, and it felt like I had gone back in time.
Wow, that's awesome.
So they did a very good job when they recreated the QBO club.
They do everything well at that museum. It is their design and layout and the philosophy behind that museum is just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Gents, anything else to wrap this up and bring it home on 72nd scale, the one true gentleman scale?
I'll tell you how you know that 72nd scale is the scale with the widest selection of items.
Shoot.
Because you can get in 72nd scale a BV-222, which is a huge German seaplane that they built like 6 or 8 of.
Yes.
And I never thought we would ever get a kit of that, much less an injection molded kit from a major manufacturer. It just tells you that the possibilities are limitless.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Here's my last thing to say.
Yeah.
So, unlike everyone else in this room, my first kit was not a 72nd scale aircraft.
Ooh.
In fact, I didn't even touch or buy a 72nd scale aircraft until I was already 3 years into the hobby.
Johnny come lately.
I think that
and when I
did, a lot about...
when I did, it was a Dragon kit, and it was the flying
God.
wing.
Oh Lord.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am sorry, and that explains a lot about your modeling, Julian.
Once bitten. Yeah.
Well, gents, thanks very much for being on the show. I'm looking forward to catching up with you both again next year. I'm heading up to Madison.
You gotta come in, fly in, and we'll drive you up, man.
Well, that's what I'm planning on doing, Dave. I'll sort of I'll fly down from Canada and catch up with you guys, and we'll road trip up from Kentucky up to Madison. That sounds like a lot of fun, being stuck with you and Mike in the car for 9 hours.
7.
Okay.
Only 7.
He missed the sarcasm in my voice there.
I heard it.
If Evan survived, you can survive.
And
I'll even survive 15.
I'll even come down a bit early so I can go for a swim in the pool and watch you do yard work while you listen to my podcast.
There you go. Listening to OTB.
And of course, Tim, we had a great time when we caught up in Omaha.
Yes.
I think you were on the same table as me during the
presentation.
The ceremony, yeah.
The ceremony, yeah.
The award ceremony.
Yeah. It was really great.
That was great.
Good memories.
I've got to say, Tim, the award ceremony in San Marcos was the most efficiently run, beautiful, get it done and get people moving that we've ever had. And I hope that's repeated.
I hope it is too. I have some ideas on, at a personal level, I have some ideas that I think would be kind of cool for doing an award ceremony, but I'm not on the e-board, and until somebody says, hey, Tim, what are your ideas on how to do awards better, I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Hey, Tim, 2 years from now, you can run for the e-board. We'd love it.
Yeah, I got to stay married.
Good answer.
Oh, Tim, one more thing. Do you want Darren Cook back, or do you want us to hang on to him for another couple of months?
I'd like him back.
Okay.
Yeah, and mainly because he no, I'm not going to say that. I won't say why. I do want him back.
All right, no worries.
I enjoy his humor, and I enjoy the banter that he and I have, and I wouldn't trade that.
All right, well, we make sure we'll put it back on the plane.
Talk to me again in a couple of years, but right now.
There you go.
All right, I'll make sure that he gets on the plane, and then we'll send him back to you.
That's it.
All right. Yeah, it's he's been texting us a little bit in the last couple of days, and it's been both good and bad.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to lead us from down under, and it's not working.
Gents, always such a pleasure to have a chat with you guys. Thanks very much for coming on and enlightening those who perhaps have never dipped a toe into the world of 70-second scale. Perhaps this will entice you to do so. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll no doubt catch up with you on the show circuit sometime.
Thank you, Digger Dave. You take care.
See you guys.
Julian.
No worries. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Well, that was really great to catch up with Kentucky Dave and El Presidente Tim.
Definitely.
And a fantastic little chat about the Gentleman's Scale 172nd. You know what? I'm kicking myself because here we are, episode 172nd. And if I had my wits about me, we could have done 148 scale. We could have done 132nd scale. We could have done 144th scale. We've got a long way to go before we can do 350th scale, but you know
it's
what?
A few years away, mate.
Yeah, or even worse, 700th scale.
Yeah.
Oh, who knows? Hopefully we're still there.
1200.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Jeez.
But
We'd be very old by then.
Yes, I think that would come after our deaths. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
oh, well, never mind. Maybe we can go back and look at those larger scales that we missed at some point, because that was a great all-round conversation about.
Yes. Even though we did get sidetracked a few times.
Oh, that's part of the wonders and joys of talking with people.
Yep, very true.
All right, guys, let's bring this home. Ian.
Adios, everybody.
Oh, geez, that's a short bring it home. Wow. Okay, right. Yeah, sure. No worries. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Julian.
Yeah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to polish my Porsche.
Is that a euphemism?
That's not, no, it's not an euphemism. No, I've actually got to do polishing work. I painted it last night, so I've got to hurry up. Fortunately, the interior is all just black leather and black trim and things like that, so I can just spray that whole thing with a rattle can black, and then I can throw some other shades of rubber black and camo black and other thing onto it.
To break up the black.
Break it up a little. It'll still look like a just a dark hole once you look through the windows, as it is with all those Euro cars.
Exactly.
Well, I've got a backyard that's got some weeds that need to be pulled. So.
Gardening.
Oh, really? Aren't you going to get stuck into your well, that's due in 2 weeks or so, isn't it?
No, because it's only the weathering. I think I can sort of let that sort of slide.
You're going to let it slide,
dude. I've got to get these weeds out of the garden. I've got to do it. So I'll find a nice good podcast and maybe. You know what? I bought a speaking. This totally left the field. You know, Solo drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lemonade.
Yeah, lemon flavored thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it comes with alcohol now.
Does it?
Yeah. So I bought some. I was at the local bottle-o last night getting some drinks from Michelle, and I saw it, and so I thought I'm going to grab one of them. Solo with alcohol.
I still remember the commercials from when I was a kid. Low on fit, so you can slam it down fast.
Got to be a solo man.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh dear. All right. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. We'll be back in a fortnight. Don't forget to check out all the other fantastic modelling podcasts, and you can find them at modelpodcast.com, which is a website that is hosted by a good friend, Stuart from Scale Model Podcast. There's a great listing there of not only podcasts but also some really good links to other interesting blogs and etc. etc.
Correct.
So there's all the other fantastic model podcasts there. Go and pay them a visit. When you are using your little podcast app, if you can take the time just to give a rating there, it just helps with the data and the analytics and sort of lifts all podcasts up to the top of the stream as well. So please go along and do that. All right, we'll be back in a fortnight. Don't know what we've got on next show, but
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, in the meantime, I'll see you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.